You know, a lot of the problems we're having, or that you all have with men, is that you want us to be vulnerable, right? But what happens is, I used to hear that the wrong way. Man, can you be a little vulnerable? But the key thing here is knowing that back in the 70s and the 80s, don't quote me on this, but when they started grouping people and talking about these cluster Bs and all this other stuff and narcissism, everybody was put in one category, vulnerable narcissists, right? And then it branched out and it changed. Now you all are really locked in on covertness, malignant. But I hear more covert than anything. I don't hear anything about grandiose, overt, malignant. I hear a lot all the time about my covert narc, whatever. I'm not making fun of y'all, but if you just go and read what the traits are of a vulnerable narcissist, you might start to think differently. But you definitely will understand who you're dealing with. Because men, let's say me, I struggled with being vulnerable. I thought of it as being having a weakness, or letting my guard down, or submitting. Leon, can you be a little more vulnerable and open? But now, since June of 2021, my ex-girlfriend got me being vulnerable with my videos, talking about myself. My first psychologist said, we're going to enroll you in intensive in-care patient. Take this brochure home, Mr. Walker, and read it. Oh, I didn't want to read that because it's like all about me opening myself up, being vulnerable. But what I learned in therapy is that in my intensive in-care patient program is that being vulnerable made me feel good about telling the truth. Because I enjoyed lying, and that's a whole separate video. But being vulnerable was exposing myself in front of somebody that I trusted and felt good about. A lot of times men out here don't want to be vulnerable because they don't feel like they can trust you. You may throw it in their face, and so then they go back and they retreat. So I want y'all to look up vulnerable narcissists. And a lot of times, men and women that are vulnerable or considered vulnerable narcissists or have vulnerable narcissistic traits, feel like they're being attacked or feel like as if it's a weakness. And they need this type of, and I needed all type of attention from women. I had to have it. But I was considered, my grandiose mindset was never malignant or covert or vulnerable, but I was always in a vulnerable state of mind. And I couldn't understand that. I didn't explain that to the women I dated. I couldn't explain it to my ex-wife. Couldn't explain it to people, my friends that were questioning me about my actions or reactions. Vulnerable narcissists don't like to be wrong. They feel insecure a lot. Just read up on it. But just to give y'all food for thought, just had a good workout and my mind is clearing up. And I want to tell y'all about, really considering who you're with, learn the traits. I can't diagnose people, you can't, but you at least have a basic idea of who they really are or where they come from.